Okay, picture this. It's 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. The glow of the screen is just completely illuminating your living room, and you're, 5 seasons deep into a show that, if we're being completely honest here, hasn't actually been good since season 2, right? The storylines are ridiculous, the characters are literally grating on your nerves, and yet, as those credits roll, that little countdown timer pops up in the corner. 5, 4, 3, 2, and boom, the next episode starts. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving deep into the dark, kind of abstract decision engine of the human mind to investigate a trap we've all fallen into. We're going to figure out exactly why we lock ourselves into these digital commitment loops, just sitting through episode after episode of a show we don't even like anymore. It's a pretty simple question, right? Why don't you just stop? Seriously, as an audience, we have never had more incredible, high-quality entertainment right at our fingertips. Literally thousands of options. Yet, we routinely do this highly irrational thing. We drag ourselves through mediocre media, complaining about it the entire time, basically treating our free time like it's a grueling second job. So, what is actually keeping us pinned to the couch? 42. Let's just use that abstract number to represent your hours wasted counter for this hypothetical bad TV show. The wild thing here is that there's absolutely no physical force, no binding contract, literally no external pressure forcing you to watch hour number 43. Nothing. The only thing keeping you there is the growing invisible weight of those 42 hours you've already spent. Which brings us to clue number 1, the sunk cost fallacy. So, to uncover the first major cognitive clue that traps us in these awful decisions, we have to look at a concept economists have been warning us about for decades. The sunk cost fallacy is basically this cognitive bias where we stick with a decision simply because we've already invested irrecoverable resources into it, whether that's money, effort, or, in the case of a midnight binge, time. Think of it like a glowing rope tying you to the TV. With every single episode you sit through, that rope gets thicker, heavier, and just so much harder to let go of. Your brain starts whispering, "Come on, I can't stop now. I've already put 42 hours into this universe." Inside your head, there's this constant battle going on. Now, according to strict rational economics, when you make a decision about what to do next, you really should only be weighing the future costs against the future benefits. The past, it shouldn't matter at all because, well, it's gone. But human beings aren't perfectly rational economic machines, are we? Our brains naturally violate this logic all the time. We actually use our past losses to justify our current misery. We somehow trick ourselves into thinking that by finishing a terrible show, we're validating the time we already wasted on it. And that brings us to this incredibly powerful insight from psychologist Dr. Susan Albers. She points out that just like money, our time and headspace are highly valuable, limited commodities. This sunk cost bias is so dangerous because in our stubborn refusal to waste the time we've already lost on a bad show, we end up actively throwing away the precious time we still have. Actually, let me rephrase that. We are literally paying for a past mistake with our future time. It's crazy when you think about it. All right, let's move on to clue number 2, escalation of commitment. See, this isn't just a modern streaming problem. It's actually a deeply ingrained human flaw. Researcher Barry Staw described this way back in 1976 as the escalation of commitment. Let's walk through this cyclical decision loop together. Behavioral economists tell us we have an automatic, intuitive part of our brain. They usually call it System 1. It operates fast. It's impulsive. So when that next episode countdown starts, System 1 just takes the wheel. Step 1, you continue watching. Step 2, that adds to your time invested. Step 3, that triggers your brain to justify the whole thing by saying, well, I've already started, which leads right back to step 4, continuing to watch. We trap ourselves in this endless, automatic self-justification because, frankly, shifting into slow, deliberate thinking requires effort that we just do not have at 2 a.m. So the absolute crucial point here is understanding what builds this invisible staircase of commitment. Researchers have zeroed in on a few specific determinants. First, you've got project characteristics, like how much time you initially sank into season 1. Then there are psychological factors. Let's be real, ego plays a huge part. Nobody wants to admit they made a terrible choice in picking a show. But the biggest one for television, proximity to completion. If you're on episode 8 of a 10-episode season, turning back feels emotionally impossible compared to just pushing forward, even if sitting through it is agonizing. This leads us perfectly into clue number 3, the need for completion. Why does serialized television specifically act as the ultimate trap for our psychology? Well, research out of Wharton contrasts how we consume different media. When we watch independent content, think like a standalone documentary or a movie, we can easily delay it. We might even savor it over a few days. But sequential content, those interconnected episodes stretched across a massive season, that completely changes the game. It exploits a deep-seated human drive. Our brains are literally hardwired to want to close open loops. In the research, they call this completion utility, and this is just fascinating to me. Completion utility means that the sheer act of finishing a task, like finally getting to the end of a long season, gives us this artificial burst of psychological satisfaction. And here is the kicker. This satisfaction is completely independent from whether the show is actually any good. You are no longer getting happiness from the entertainment value, you're just getting a hit of dopamine from the act of crossing it off your mental to-do list. If you map a viewer's journey through a season, you can totally see how this escalates. We start episode 1, innocently enough, just looking for some fun, right? By episode 5, those sunk costs are really starting to pile up. By episode 8, our escalation of commitment is peaking. We're just so close to the end. In fact, researchers found that as consumers get closer to completing a sequential experience, their consumption speed actually perversely increases. We binge faster the closer we get to the finale, purely to achieve that completion utility. We just want it over with. Researchers Steiner and Shu actually found something tragically absurd about this. Viewers report an acute urge to complete a show and a sense of, wait for it, relief when they finally finish watching it. Just think about that for a second. We don't watch bad shows for fun anymore. We watch them to feel the sweet, fleeting relief of being released from a commitment that we completely made up. It's wild. Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Case solved. The exit. Let's take a collective breath here and just slow the pacing completely down. When you put all these clues together, the sunk costs, the escalation of commitment, that desperate, crawling search for completion utility, you start to realize that the circular trap we've been running in was just an illusion this whole time. The glowing screen, the dramatic cliffhangers, that automatic countdown timer, the TV show has absolutely no real power over your choices. The next episode is not what's keeping you glued to the couch. Your past decisions are. It's your own cognitive biases. It's your brain's stubborn refusal to let go of those 42 hours you already spent. It's your automatic, fast-thinking System 1 brain scrambling to justify its past actions. You basically built the walls around yourself using sunk costs and a psychological need to just check a box. So here is what I want you to take away from this explainer today. You are the architect of this commitment loop, which means you hold the key to the exit. The time you spend on a bad show, it's gone. You can't get it back. But your future time, that belongs entirely to you. You can de-escalate your commitment right now. You can reclaim your evening simply by recognizing the fallacy, defying that urge for completion, and just turning off the screen. The only question left is, the next time you realize you're not having fun, will you break the loop?